Assalamualaikum. Today, our group will be presenting an analysis of the working capital strategy of McDonald's. We choose McDonald's because it is a global company with strong financial performance and efficient operations. In this presentation, we will evaluate how the company managed its short-term assets and liabilities and identify its working capital approach.
Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. For this presentation, we will discuss about McDonald's working capital strategy. First, working capital means the money used by a company for daily operation. It includes cash, inventory, and short-term assets used to run the business smoothly. Next, net working capital is calculated by subtracting current liability from current asset. This helps the company know whether they have enough money to support daily activity. Working capital is important because it helps McDonald's pay short-term debt on time, manage cash flow, and continue business operation without problem. So, the main objective of working capital management is to make sure the business have enough cash, avoid financial problem, and maintain business stability and profitability. Next, this slide shows McDonald's financial data for assets and liability. From the statement, we can see that McDonald's has high total asset. Most of the non-current assets come from property, equipment, and lease assets used for restaurant operation. For current assets, McDonald's has cash, account receivable, and other short-term assets to support daily business activity. Besides that, the company also has liabilities such as long-term debt and lease liabilities. These liabilities are important because McDonald's uses financing to expand and operate their business worldwide. Overall, the financial data show that McDonald's has strong asset management and stable financial performance to support its business operation.
Hello everyone and a very good day to my lecturer and fellow friends. My name is Hajar binti Tariq and today I will be presenting a financial data analysis for McDonald's Corporation, specifically focusing on their working capital strategy as of 30th December 2025. To start, we need to understand how McDonald's manage its current assets. We have divided them into two categories: permanent current assets (PCA) and temporary current assets (TCA). We have the temporary current asset (TCA). These are the assets fluctuate based on business cycles or seasonal demand. For McDonald's, this is represented by other current assets, which is $924 million. If we look at the permanent current asset, PCA, these are the assets that McDonald's need to keep operations running continuously. From the statement of financial position, we have identified two main components. First, cash and cash equivalents, which is $774 million. Second, accounts and notes receivable, totaling $2466 million. When we add this together, the total PCA is $3240 million. Now, let's move on to the calculations. To understand the liquid positions of the company, we look at the two key metrics. First is the net working capital. The formula is current assets minus current liabilities. Using the data from the statement, our total current assets is $4163 million. Our total current liabilities is $4361 million. So 4163 minus 4361 gives us net working capital of negative $198 million. Next, we calculate the current ratio to see if the company can cover its short-term debts. The formula is current assets divided by current liabilities. That is $4163 million divided by $4361 million. This gives us a result of 0.95. This means for every $1 of short-term debt, McDonald's has 95 cents in current assets to cover it. Finally, let's look at the financing source for these assets. Fixed assets, which are worth $55352 million, are funded through long-term debt and equity. This matches the long life of the property and equipment. For permanent assets, PCA, of $3240 million, the company uses a portion of its current liabilities. The reasoning here is to use short-term funds to minimize the cost of capital. And for temporary asset, TCA, of $924 million, these are funded by short-term debt or payables to stay flexible with fluctuating needs. That concludes the data and calculation part of our analysis. I will now pass the presentation to the next member. Thank you.
Now I will present about McDonald's working capital approach. McDonald's uses an aggressive working capital approach. This means the company depends more on short-term financing to support its operation and business activities. McDonald's operates in a dynamic environment where sales and inventory change frequently. The company also maintains low current assets compared to current liabilities, which shows tight liquidity management. By using more short-term financing, McDonald's can reduce financing costs, improve profitability, and increase flexibility. However, this approach also creates higher liquidity risk because the company relies heavily on short-term funds. In conclusion, McDonald's uses an aggressive working capital approach to achieve efficiency, flexibility, and higher returns despite the higher risk.
My name is Maisara Binti Hanafi. For this analysis, we evaluate McDonald's working capital position using three indicators. First, we compare the level of current asset and current liabilities. McDonald's current assets are 4,163 while current liabilities are higher at 4,361. This shows that the company maintains a low level of current assets, which reflect a tight liquidity position under a restricted working capital policy. Second, we examine the credit policy through receivable, trade and bills receivable amount to 2,466, which indicates a moderate receivable level. This suggests that McDonald's applies a controlled credit policy and still manage receivable efficiently with excessive credit risk. Lastly, we analyze the liquidity buffer. The company only holds cash of 774 and has a negative net working capital of negative 198. This means McDonald's has limited safety buffer and may experience short-term payment pressure if cash inflows slow down. Overall, these indicators confirm that McDonald's adopt a tight working capital strategy focused on efficiency and cost minimization, although it involves higher liquidity risk. The identification, justification, and policy adopted by the company. First, let's look at the working capital position. McDonald's recorded total current asset of 4,163 and current liabilities of 4,361. This results in a negative net working capital of negative 198. The company's current ratio is 0.95, which means current liabilities are slightly higher than current assets. This situation shows that McDonald's keep its current assets at a relatively low level compared to its short-term obligations. However, this does not necessarily indicate poor performance because large companies like McDonald's often operate using an efficient working capital strategy. Next, based on the graph shown, McDonald's adopt a restricted or tight working capital policy. This policy focuses on maintaining low current assets to reduce holding and operating costs. It is associated with higher risk but potentially higher returns. Under this policy, McDonald's relies relies more on short-term liabilities and efficient cash flow management. The company minimized idle cash and excess inventory to improve operational efficiency and profitability. Now, moving to the liquidity analysis, the company cash liquidity buffer is 774, which is relatively low compared to current liabilities of 4,361. This means McDonald's has limited immediate liquidity to settle short-term obligations. In addition, trade and bills receivable amount to 2,466, which represent a large portion of current assets. Since receivable takes time to convert into cash, this may create liquidity pressure in the short term. However, McDonald's can still manage this policy effectively because of its strong brand reputation, stable sales revenue, and fast business turnover. Daily cash inflow from customers help support operation despite the lower liquidity ratio. In conclusion, McDonald's used a restricted working capital policy to maximize efficiency and profitability. Although this approach involves higher liquidity risk, the company's strong operational performance allows it to maintain stable business operations successfully.
My name is Siti Zulaika. For the conclusion, we can conclude that McDonald's uses an aggressive working capital approach in managing its business operation. This is because the company depends more on short-term financing, which can be seen from its negative net working capital of negative 198 million US dollars and current ratio of 0.95. Although this approach carries higher financial risk, it helps the company reduce financing costs and improve operational efficiency. McDonald's is still able to operate smoothly because the company has strong cash flow, stable sales performance, and a well-established global brand. Besides that, the company finances its fixed asset and permanent current asset mainly through long-term financing, while temporary current assets are supported by short-term liabilities. This shows that McDonald's focuses on balancing profitability and efficiency in its working capital management. Overall, McDonald's working capital management is considered effective and suitable for a large multinational company. However, the company still needs to manage its liquidity carefully to maintain long-term financial stability and continuous business growth. That is all from our group presentation. Thank you.
I just had to let you know you're